privacy notice at bbc.co.uk/local radio privacy.
First, though, it is a Monday at 7:37, which means it must be time for this.
What am I missing? What was the difference? 'Cause you never listen to any other time I asked you to stay away. Yeah, you couldn't stay away. Have you grown up? Have you changed much? Have you...
We always give you a motivational tip every single Monday morning to get you fired up and ready for the week ahead, and it also gives you an excuse to talk about it over dinner or tea, whichever one you have, depends on how posh you are. Did you hear that on the radio this morning? Apparently, if you take a cold shower for once every week, it does all sorts for the mind. I can imagine these conversations taking place across Staffordshire and Cheshire. We get Lisa T on, country music singer, singing this song here.
Now it's 2 a.m.
Also a mental health expert, and she gives us these little bits of information which can make a huge difference to us. Lisa, good morning.
Good morning, Lee. How are you?
Very well. The last time we spoke, you were number one in the country and western chart. Is that still the case?
Oh, yes, I was. No, so it doesn't usually last for more than... Sometimes it can just last for, a few hours, but I actually managed to hold the spot all day, which was great. But no, it's not still there now.
But you were there, which is the main thing. And it was, I know you were buzzing last week when we spoke. How's the single gone down? What's the feedback been like?
Yeah, no, it's gone down really well. I've had a lot of, because I co-wrote that with somebody who's quite well known on the country scene in the UK. He's called Gary Quinn, and he's won quite a few awards the last few years for being like male vocalist of the year and stuff. So it's definitely helped with getting my name out there a little bit more, writing with him, and the song doing so well. So yeah, so I'm really happy with how it's all been received.
You're too generous, you. You'd never make a radio presenter. If I'd had a number one song, I wouldn't be crediting anybody. I'd just be like, yeah, it was all my work. Listen to me. That's why I'm not a successful singer and why I sit here talking about myself on a daily basis every morning. What have you got for us on Monday Motivation?
So this week's tip is about building our own internal trust to help us feel more in control. So some recent research has shown that sometimes when we experience anxiety or fear, it can be because we feel that we have a lack of control around our environment or our own feelings. And specifically, the studies showed that we often, when we have anxiety or fear, is because we don't feel very safe within ourselves. So a quick and easy way that we can start to build a feeling of safety and internal trust within us is by making and keeping small promises to ourselves. So what this does is it starts to relax the subconscious mind and make that part of the brain feel like it's in safe hands rather than worried and scared a lot of the time. So the key is that the promises that we start to make have to be small enough that we can keep them, because if we start making little promises and breaking them, that has the opposite effect of building lack of trust and more fear and more anxiety. So an example could be something really small, like this week I'm going to be in bed by 11:30 every night, or, I'm going to be off my phone for an hour each evening, or I'm going to drink more water. Something that's obviously good for our well-being, but small enough that we can stick to it. And then the feeling of accomplishment and achievement at the end of the week is really strong. And like I say, these little parts of the brain that we don't really think about or understand very well, that are apparently a bit like a small child, they start to feel more safe, more relaxed, and hopefully then you'll start to notice that the feelings of anxiety or fear that you might be experiencing really start to lessen because the internal trust has been built.
You've just made me feel like I'm my nan's age there by making a promise to be in bed before 11:30. And here's me sitting here who's in bed for 9:10 every single night. That's good. So make sure the promise isn't too overly complicated, because if you try and do it and fail, then you're going to be further back than where you started. So a small promise. So something like, I've been ranting about this all morning, not getting wound up by people who hog the middle lane on a motorway. Just stay calm. Just make a promise to yourself that you're not going to sit there punching the steering wheel and having a rant.
Yeah, that would be a good one. But I mean, that might be tricky for some people. So you might want to start smaller. But yeah, anything like that. Just pick one thing this week. It can be really, really small, but just start to notice how it makes you feel when you get to the end of the week and you've actually stuck to what you've said. And it's just between you and you. So there's no one else involved. And it's just a little promise that you make. And then you start to feel good and like you've built that internal trust by the end of the week. So yeah, anything that's quite small that could be important to you would be good.
That's a really good one when you're talking about target setting and making little promises to yourself, by the way. The thing about staying off your phone for like half an hour or an hour, because I imagine like when you're talking about mental well-being, the phone's a massive one that's an easy change to make.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we're just so used to just grabbing it, aren't we, and going on it. So when we say to ourselves, that's a good point, Lee, could start with half an hour and build up to an hour. So when we say to ourselves, right, I'm just going to put my phone down for half an hour, just look at the clock and just make sure that you don't pick it up because it's so natural for us to do that. And little things like that will really start to help us to feel more accomplished and build that trust because we're sticking to things that we say we'll stick to.
I like it. I'm going to set myself a target of, especially as I'm watching Ozark, the latest series at the moment, no phone. Leave my phone in the kitchen and have an hour escape away from your mobile phone. That's my target that I'm going to set myself for the rest of this week, because whenever I sit there flicking through social media, I inevitably come off in a huff, in a bad mood, having a rant about what's going on in the world. Love a rant, me. Lisa, thank you ever so much. Great stuff.
Thanks, Lee. Take care.
Speak to you soon. Lisa T with this week's Monday motivation on the show. Like that, by the way. Make a small promise to yourself. So basically a small target of something you want to achieve that's going to make your mental well-being far better. So setting yourself a target of staying off your phone for half an hour more every day, drinking more water, being in bed for half an hour earlier, that kind of thing. And Lisa says it makes a huge difference. Thank you ever so much, Lisa T. More Monday motivation on one day next week. Probably Monday. I tell you what, we're a grumpy bunch, aren't we? On the text and social media, talking about things that wind people up. So Tamsin Parker earlier said loud eaters. That is horrific, isn't it? That is